Greetings, Summoners. Cosmic here, and welcome back to another Battle Spirits Saga video. And today we have a top 4 interview from London. And you know, there's been a lot of red decks getting the spotlight, and there's been a lot of white decks getting the spotlight. But you know what? Today we got purple, and I am joined by Kieran. Kieran, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Perfect. So you made top 4 in London and had a big celebration of the event. But, you know, before we get into how you heard about the game and all that stuff, how long have you been playing, collectible card games? Is there a certain game that you played in the past you did well with, or what was your, previous past favorite game?
Yeah, so probably introduced into card games for the last 15 years of my life. Just coming home from school and watching Yu-Gi-Oh on the TV. And just kind of been playing card games ever since that. After Yu-Gi-Oh, I kind of dabbled a bit into Bushiroad card games for quite a long time. Playing Card Fight Vanguard a little bit professionally, but primarily was playing Buddy Fight for its entire existence.
Oh no, another
and in
one.
that game,
Rest in peace, Buddy Fight.
Yeah, a bit disappointed with that. But during Buddy Fight, I had quite a few good achievements. I won the first competitive circuit in the UK. I got third in the first Continental Championship. I went to Japan a few years ago because of Buddy Fight getting flown out there for the World Championship. Amazing opportunity that was. And I actually got third at that respective World Championship. Ever since that game kind of died, been kind of looking to fill in that little void for a competitive game. And that's why I'm playing Battle Spirits right now.
Awesome. Well, I got to ask for everyone else out there, because I know they're going to stop me if I don't. I also did dabble a little bit in Bushiroad games, and I was a Magic World player. What did you play in Buddy Fight?
Oh, I varied in every single world possible, but my first ever world was Magic World, the wizard kind of clock deck where you got to skip. You got 2 extra turns back to back. That was the first ever proper competitive deck I picked up.
Perfect. I will take that because it was also my favorite, and we'll go with it. So I got to ask then, coming from Bushiroad, coming from Yu-Gi-Oh before that, how did you hear about Battle Spirits Saga? What was the first time that kind of got on your radar, and what made you, decide to look into it a little bit more?
Yeah, so my first introduction to the Battle Spirits franchise was actually through Bandai's digital CCG Xenonzard, which launched a few years ago, but also died a few years ago. I believe they were releasing a collaboration set with Battle Spirits, and that's kind of when I first knew of the franchise. I remember they were kind of teasing these 12 Zodiac spirits in the Xenonzard game, and I was kind of very interested to see what they did in the actual game. So I remember going on the Battle Spirits wiki and researching it, and that's when I just saw this game that I'd never heard of, having 50 plus sets at the time. And it kind of fell off my radar for quite a long time because obviously the game was Japanese only at that time. I know it had an English release way, way, way back. And then I think a few months ago, I think in October period, I was at an airport. I was at the airport waiting on the plane to go to Florida to see my partner. And I think that's when they kind of opened up the Battle Spirit Saga Twitter account. The website went live and all my friends were talking about it. And that's kind of when we looked into it. And I guess we've been following it ever since.
Right. So short after the big Gen Con revival announcement, where they announced all the huge cash prizing, and then shortly after that. So, yeah, really from the start then is from what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So with the news out of the way of how you found it, what made you land on purple, right? So we have 4 colors in set 1. There's been a lot of hype, like I mentioned at the start, about red and white. Myself, of course, yellow main. I love the color. I love all the mascots. I love the magic attributes and all that good stuff, but, maybe not as popular. But what really drew you to purple, and what made you decide to take that to London? Or is it something that you swapped into last minute because of your testing?
So my playgroup testing consisted of 2 people, Ibo Academy, a great content creator as well, and my good friend Dr. Beppis. Basically, I will be honest, my play testing experience and my group was definitely very, very short compared to the rest of the top cut. I have been testing competitively for only 2 weeks of step 1 meta, so I'm very, very, very far behind, but we still did what we could and we came up with the list that we did. And I think for the majority of the playtesting, I was actually playing 2-cost yellow because I just find it a really fun casual deck. I don't have to take too much serious stuff with it. My other 2 playtest partners were playing purple a lot, and I was spectating and playtested them a lot. So I actually barely touched purple, but I'd been observing it the most, and it was kind of the deck I felt most comfortable with because I was being realistic, and I kind of thought to myself, if I really wanted to make top cut, I wasn't very confident in two cost yellow, so unfortunately. So that's kind of why I landed on purple. But I will say on the Friday, once we got all the boxes, I think it was 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and I was sitting there like, what color do I want to play? Because I wasn't 100% sure even at that point, but purple was what we landed on.
Well, even with a short testing period, then, right, did very well, all things considered. And so it sounds like purple is maybe the color that you'll stick with, do you think? Or are you going to have a chance to explore others leading up to the store release events at the end of April?
Yeah, when all the reveals were coming through, white was the first color that really stood out because I'm a big fan of the whole defensive play nature. It's just I didn't get enough testing with white to feel comfortable with it. But at the same time, I'm a massive sucker for kind of any deck that involves angels and archetype of angels, which is obviously what the white luster deck does have. So going to be playtesting that more and trying to see if we can make it more competitive with, set. I mean, not maybe not with set one meta, but maybe with the tournament pack meta and the extra expansion pack.
Yeah, absolutely. We did get a little bit of a spoiler in Vegas, I will say, and there it was luster. Kind of people have already figured out that from there, and I won't give away too much because it's not my grounds to say so. But I will say there is a very spicy bonus coming to luster with Tournament Pack 01. So I'm really excited to see because there's going to be 8 exclusive cards, so it's best to assume that each color is going to get 2. So that's one of them, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the other one that we get is. But yeah, I'm of the 3, right? So 2 cost Rush, Fabled Beast, which is always more mid-range because of Paradise, and then Luster. Yeah. Luster is my favorite. Michaela is my key spirit, and I just I love the way that deck normally plays out.
Yeah, I think one day I randomly tuned. I forgot who was streaming the matches, but I remember I just tuned into a random Battle Spirits tournament stream that was going on, and the one of the players was playing Luster, and he had like a massive, I want to say 7 card, like not stack, but 7 cards of just like played Magic during the Luster's battle on it, and it just looked really fun.
It's like, you're telling me I get all of this back as well? Why, thank you. I'll do it again. So going on from there, I have the purple list, and I'll put the image up on the screen for everyone else here. But is there anything that you would change, right? So we've seen a lot of these purple decks that some have Maduke, some don't, some have a lower cost curve for Curse. But really, the big key pieces of the purple decks have always focused around Dark Bishop and Curse Dragon. So I think those are safe to say that they're staying. But is there any card that you felt that was either, the MVP of the day besides those 2, or something that, maybe didn't perform quite as well and you would change out for the list?
Yeah, definitely looking back at it, I mean, it kind of, the very short period of testing kind of does really feel like it. We did have a bit of playtesting with Austin Summers, who actually obviously won Vegas. We know him from Buddy Fight, so it was quite easy to get him involved with our little playtesting group for a few sessions. And he was the one that actually suggested us using Maduke, or siding or even maining Maduke, especially for the Red Nova matchup. So that's kind of where that came from. And I think Maduke might be my MVP of the day, I want to say. A lot of people, I think I played her probably, I want to say 5, 6 times the entire tournament, but every single time I played her, my opponent had to pick her up and read her. They just didn't know fully what she did. And it's understandable because she is a game-defining card on herself.
Yeah, there's also a wall of text, but there is some very relevant text in there, not just all reminder text.
Yeah, and I think my round 8 opponent, which we'll get into in a bit, he picked up the card, I think, in game 3, and he just read the card, and he's like, this card is just broken, which it reads broken as well. But yeah, in terms of things I would take out, we were playing 4 Star Blessed draw. We kind of just wanted a bit more draw power, but I really didn't get to resolve it as much as I would have liked to. In purple, you don't really have the spare cores either, so I'd probably cut that down to maybe 3 or 2. We chucked in a 1/0 Dream Bomb just as a spicy tech, but again, it didn't really come up too often. I think the counter sword that's in the side could have been in the main, and it would have made a bigger difference. Some of the cards to consider for the main board is Angelic Pressure. Obviously, great card for dealing with Fula from white, especially because you do -3k BP every time you cast Angelic Pressure. So you just play 2 of that and you're killing the Fula, especially because it gets around the fact that there is no Enterprise doesn't give armor yellow. So that's a card I know a lot of purple players have been maining and siding. Angelic Pressure was about to go into our sideboard like an hour before the before the event, but it didn't make the cut because just wasn't 100% confident on it. I know Rotting Swamp is also kind of an interesting Nexus card, just, very consistent draw power, especially because in this build we are playing a mixture of core removal but also curse package. And the curse guys are just going to die, and Rotting Swamp would allow us to kind of plus off that a bit more. The Smoke Valley didn't plus me as much as I would have liked to, so that's kind of why I feel like Rotting Swamp could maybe do that. We are playing a few Serpent cards, not many. I think two. We're playing the Maduke and the Dragonaga. A bit of a random one, but I know some people have also mentioned just playing Normangard, the Elephant, just as a big dude who, when he dies, you kind of just get free advantage, and that can kind of work in this deck because I do feel like this deck doesn't really have many proactive plays. You want to kind of keep the Curse Dragon, you want to keep the Baculus, you want to keep the Maduke for when you've got curse cards. There are turns where you don't really want to play your hand. I think the Elephant would be a good tech.
Yeah, just getting to get the massive card draw off it and the ramp, and at some point, your opponent's going to have to deal with it. And if they don't, well, just a 10k attacker is going to get there at the end of the day a lot of times. So
yeah.
Great overview for the list overall. And then just a quick recap, what did you play against? What did you feel was a good matchup? What did you just try to avoid? Just a very quick tournament experience that led you in a top 4.
Yeah, round 1, played against the Mirror. Always the unfortunate thing, you never really want to place the Mirror, but we did win the Mirror 2-0. Yeah, good opponent, very similar deck. I just saw my Nexus, he didn't. That's how it goes sometimes. In round 2, I played against Star Dragon with the kind of Pterosaur hybrid variant, so playing the Garganos and playing the one-drop Pterosaur as well, and a few other Pterosaur package. That game ended in a tie. Funny enough, we both weren't actually aware of the time rulings. We kind of thought it was going to go to highest life wins. But it turns out the moment time was called, it was just a tie, full stop, regardless of life difference. And I'm not sure if that was the same approach for different venues, but that's how it was in London, Swiss anyway. So I had a tie in my record. In round 3, I played against Control Whites. I won that 2-0. I kind of just swarmed the board with Curse guys, and obviously Curse getting around the armor is a great mechanic. My round 4 was 2-cost yellow. For purple, if anyone's played 2-cost yellow, you're probably quite aware that against purple it's quite a rough matchup. So that was a 2-0 for me. And in round 5, I played against another 2-cost yellow player, which was also a 2-0 for me as well. I think 2-cost yellow is probably your best matchup as this kind of purple core control deck overall. In round 6, I played against Control White. I technically won the game 2-0. We went into time game 2, and I mean, going into time as White's not very surprising, but we went into time and then I kind of won because I won the first game. Lovely opponent. Shout out to Harry. In round 7, I played against another Star Dragon Pterosaur list, which turns out, I didn't know this, but the round 2 opponent and the round 7 opponent were really good friends, and I think they were playing the exact same list. I did lose that game, so round 7 was my first loss. I did lose 2-1. Little funny story. In game 2, my opponent had the regular Siege Worm on board with 5 cores, and he was down to, I believe, 2 life. And I played Core Theft, and obviously Core Theft sends all the cores to the trash, not the reserve.
Yep.
So I had a 6-card hand. I played Core Theft, discard my 5-card hand, and my opponent just scooped up because he knew what was about to happen.
Very nice play.
Yeah. And then in round 8, I played against a very interesting rainbow deck. It played red, white, purple, good stuff. It's kind of hard to comment on what that deck really was. One moment the Numbon Guard came out, and then the Baculus and Curse Dragon combo came out, and then the whole Siege Run combo came out. Very interesting list. But I was able to win that 2-1. So made day 2 because of that. So kind of going away from day 1, my worst matchup was the kind of Star Dragon deck, and that's because I didn't really know how to really efficiently play against it, because red is very consistent and they will always see what they want to see, basically. So you can't really slow them down, it feels like. But in top 8, I played against another Star Dragon Pterosaur player. I was able to win that 2-0. Big shout out to Maduke in both games. She pretty much got me in a winning position. There was nothing my opponent could do. I will say my opponent did do a really awesome play. For those who do know Maduke and played against Maduke, obviously the counter to her is just hitting underneath her. My opponent did do a really awesome play where he swung, I blocked with Maduke, he he buffed my own Maduke with his spell, so my Maduke was out of range to trigger Blood Curse. So it did delay his death by a turn, but ultimately Maduke was just a massive, massive play. And then in top four, I lost to control white 2-1. We went to time, and in top cut, going into time did mean that highest life won. And white just has really good tools. I did lose to Hari, who I played against in round 6. Amazing opponent, really fun games with him. So I didn't like, if I was going to lose to anyone, would rather it be him. And that wrapped up my tournament experience overall.
Good, definitely a good run again, hitting the top 4 mark and really just crushing Swiss from it. But you know, Nova is really on the rise, especially coming out of the Vegas launch event. There was a lot of red decks, and even looking at just top 8 cuts of kind of around the world, Nova is the kind of like the target, right, going into the next week and leading up to those store release events. So you'd mentioned Maduke. Is there any other card that you felt was really helpful in that matchup? Because again, I expect a lot of people will be wanting to play purple and would love to hear what you have to say about what do you want to do for the Nova matchup and what was your kind of key card other than Maduke? Or is Maduke just good enough? And that's the answer everyone should be looking forward to.
Yeah, whether or not it's the most efficient play, we're not 100% sure. But when we went into red, we always sided out all the 6. Well, I play 6 Nexuses. The moment we saw a red player, we just sided all 6 of them out. Weren't going to bother with them, especially because Neverwhere Depths does cost a hefty amount, and getting that destroyed it feels bad every time. I will give a big shout out to Counter Sword in the side, however. Being able to top deck a when summoned effect did win me my top 8 matchup a bit more. I think he had a 2-card hand size. He didn't really draw very well. He played the Sea Drum combo, and in the moment he played Nova, I just counter sorted back to the top of his deck, and I knew he was going to draw a dead card, and he just scooped up from there. So yeah, I think counter sword as well, and Core Theft is just a great card in general, just for going for lethal boards like that as well. I think those are the cards I'd probably give the biggest shout out to in that matchup.
Yeah, I definitely love getting to hear the highlight of the Core Theft play and being like, hey, sorry, you're going to have no cores for Absolute Ice Shield. This is just what's happening now. You know, probably feels terrible to be on the other side of it, but it is a very, very good play to use with Core Theft. So kind of wrapping up here towards the end, and a couple, you know, what is your favorite card in this set overall? Going back to Battle Spirits as kind of an anime, as a theme, as an IP, right? Everyone has their key spirit. It's your favorite, and I guess in our cases it would be X-Rare, right? That you really gravitate towards. It doesn't have to be the most competitive thing, but it's just a card that you really like. And for me, it's Michaela. I love the Luster's mechanic. I think it's just an overall very strong spirit. So for you, what is your key spirit, or again, favorite card out of the set 1? Or could be the starter decks as well, right?
Yeah, I would say for now it's actually Maduke. I feel like she's a card that a lot of purple lists they read her. She kind of reads broken. They tried her. She didn't really work too well. They cut her out. And for a lot of lists, she's kind of remained out of the main deck for quite a long time. But I really like Maduke. I like the whole curse playstyle. And I kind of want to change the list a little bit to be a bit more curse related, especially for the white matchup. But I would give a shout out, kind of like art wise, to Prince Pentan. Probably one of my favorite card artworks of the initial launch. I love that. I love seeing the zoomed in meme of Prince Pentan being shared on Twitter. I love seeing that every time, whenever the official account or whenever anyone shares that. Also, big shout out to Mind Eye Celestial, because that is art from Xenonzard, and I hope to see more Xenonzard art get ported over to this game and be exclusive to Battle Spirit Saga. But from a kind of like a mechanical point of view, I really like Core Theft as a card. I think it's a really well balanced card. I think it's a very interesting card because of the fact that it sends the cores to the trash instead.
And I guess that does remind me what I was going to go back to is from the tournament packs, we have confirmed that we're getting more Xenozard artwork with both the angel and the serpent that are featured on those cards. So I think that's a trend that we're going to continue to see, and I'm all for it. The artwork is amazing. I also love Shin. I think it's just fantastic artwork. So the fact that they're going to continue to use that, 100% for it. So on the other side of that coin, be it by design, by the artwork, what is your least, or the one you just hate running into the most, right? Maybe you're tired of the getting suppressioned out of the game. What is your least favorite card from the set?
It's interesting. I think if you would have asked me before the weekend, I would have said Ice Shield, just because I understand the nature of, it needs to exist, but it's a double-edged sword where you've got this rare that people were running around the venue on the Friday paying $40 for the rare, $50 for the rare, because of just how important that was. And it kind of felt like if you didn't have 4 You weren't really topping, not in London anyway. But after the tournament, I'm gonna have to say my least favorite card, design-wise, is probably Star Blessed Draw. It feels really bad to play entire colors like yellow and purple, where your deck kind of needs to play when summoned effects. And I mean, for those who don't know, obviously, when you play a when summoned card, even if the effect doesn't resolve, they can still flip up the Star Blessed Draw and then pay to draw before. So when you're playing things like you've only got like a Belphegor in your hand and you're forced to play it, they can just pop off from that as well. Not the biggest fan that certain colors do naturally become worse when red is just drawing 4 for a cost of 2. And for example, 2 cost yellow, you can't really cut out your when summon, because if you're cutting out your Patch CFC or Pentan, your deck just becomes worse. So I'm not the biggest fan of Star Blessed Draw, I would say, design wise right now.
Yeah, as the proclaimed token yellow main that's going out there is that card has caused me many nights of grief, because again, as you mentioned, and it only gets worse for yellow. Our whole gimmick is playing a bunch of cheap when summoned spirits that are gonna hopefully draw us cards or get us more magic, what have you, and we just the way I've changed the Fabled Beast deck is like the only on summon that I play is the turtle, and everything else is just I have to get value through my Nexus, which then brings to the other point of, if I'm going against red, well, they have 8 Andromeda, 8 Burning Force. I'm not ever winning that one either. So yeah. Red will.
That's actually why we cut out the I think the Lance or the Cavalier, the 4-drop purple that draws you 1 on entry, because of that reason. We just didn't want to give our opponent too many when summoned effects, so that's why we don't play that card. It's a good card, drawing 1 on entry, but
yeah. I think a lot of people have continued to move away from when summons, where it's like I have to play like Dark Bishop, Cursed Dragon, right? I have to get this major value off of it, where even if they do have the Star Blast, yes, they're going to draw 4, but at least I was able to clear their board. It's going to take them a turn or 2 to recover from that, and then hopefully I can capitalize on it. But even then, I've had a number of board states where it's like, cool, I did my combo, they just draw 4 back up, and it's like, okay, now here's some more draw effects, and it's like, all right, I don't know what I'm doing about this. I thought I was going to come back off this combo, and then, don't do it, unfortunately. Well, with that, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Congrats again for making top 4 in London. Any last minute shout outs that you want to give out, either to locals, to other players, Twitch handles, anything like that? Feel free to take your 2 minutes to give any shout outs you want.
Thank you. I mean, I have to give a big shout out to Ibo Academy, and Dr. Bepp as being my playtest partners for 2 weeks. Very short notice, but I think we did quite well. And I mean, massive shout out to Ibo and Dr. Beppers, because on the Friday, very silly of me, I didn't bring any sleeves, and I thought they were going to be selling sleeves the Friday. They weren't, so I had to go all the way to my Ibo's house, which was an hour away, pick up some sleeves, come back the next day. Turns out they were selling sleeves on the Saturday morning, but I didn't want to take that risk. And then big shout out to Dr. Peppers, because he also gave me a pack of Dragon Shield sleeves for day 2, so I didn't have to spend money on sleeves. So lesson learned about taking sleeves to a tournament with you. But yeah.
Yep, they definitely came through for you. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, with that, that'll wrap up our top 4 interview for today. Hopefully going to get a couple more top 8 lists and all that good stuff coming out in future videos. But again, Kieran, thank you so much for your time today. For everyone else, have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay hydrated, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.